Just like how everything in this universe has a particular level of wavelength and frequency, the cannabis plant also has a particular amount of wavelength and frequency, which is almost considered to be a divine communicator. Um, Similarly, every individual also has their own wavelength and frequency. This wavelength and frequency is actually what they have experienced from the time that they have taken birth till they've completely grown up, and accumulated knowledge, accumulated wisdom, accumulated experiences. All of these things makes the wavelength and frequency of the individual, which becomes their entire collective belief system of that particular individual as their individual consciousness. Now, I want you all to imagine this small particular example. If you have an acre of land, and let's say you want to cultivate a lot of things over here, the first thing that as a farming practice, what needs to be done even before you cultivate anything onto this particular thing is till the soil. The soil needs to be completely loosened up. It needs to be aerated. It needs to be manured. It needs to be fed with a little bit of water so that the microorganisms and everything is completely taken over, and then you put the seeds over there so that the plants nourish and then it can grow and give you good harvest. Now similarly, for a human mind, in order for you to bring divine knowledge and divine experiences into you, a human being has to till his own mind. Now, like this particular land can either be tilled with agricultural tools, one at a time, create rows over here and other things, and then take lot of time in order for you to till this particular thing. Um, Otherwise, like the way in the modern agricultural system, you can use tractors and other things to till it faster. Now, the yogic way and the meditation and the practices of religion and spirituality is a very slow way. If you want to achieve the fastest ego death, it is through the spiritual entheogens. Entheogens are the kind of plants, a very special category of plants which can bring you divine experiences into your body and into your mind. Now, cannabis is considered as a quasi entheogen, which is one of the foundational thing. This is the base thing that you will have to do in order for you to be able to understand many other entheogenal drugs. What are the other entheogens? You may ask. Like there is psilocybin, there is ayahuasca, there is so many other wild varieties of plants that can give you very unique experiences in a spiritual way. Some of them brings you wisdom, some of them brings you passion, some of them brings you knowledge, some of them dilutes you for a particular amount of time so that you can experience something else in your consciousness. Now, this whole thing is being ridiculed because they consider these medicinal plants that are there, these spiritual plants that are there, as a dangerous thing to the society. And what the government is okay with regulating is something as cheap as sugar, something like alcohol, which degrades the consciousness to its lowest levels. The wavelength of an individual and the frequency of an individual changes after they've consumed the cannabis plant, because the energies always flow from the highest state to the lowest state. If you as an individual is on a very low energy in terms of your health, in terms of your awareness, in terms of your spirit, the plant, which is a higher substance which has higher energy, flows into you. That's basic laws of physics and chemistry and science and all the things that we have studied in our educational system. But they do not want this higher wisdom to flow to an individual, which can empower them to be higher spiritual beings. And if it starts happening on an individual level, he or that person is going to be considered as a rebel. If it starts happening on a collective or a mass level, it becomes a very dangerous thing, because the society will be questioned, the leaders will be questioned, all the bad things that are happening in the society will be talked about, and the higher spiritual beings and a collective mass spirit of the entire civilization is going to be dangerous for the losers who are running this particular civilization. So that is the reason why they don't want this higher wisdom to flow to the lower individual. But as an individual, if you want to improve your wavelength, if you want to improve your frequency, what we generally very loosely talk about as the vibes of a person. Everyone understands that word, the terminology called vibes is used very loosely, but there is an element that you need to bring into your understanding and your awareness. People who have done a lot of cannabis, they're some of the most calmest human beings, some of the wisest, some of the most ethical, some of the most morally strong. Um, uh, and again, everything, if the person is doing something bad in life, it is only because that person was never seeded with the right kind of knowledge. Now, it is equally important for the tilling of the land, and it is equally important for the seeds to be put into the ground as well, so that your harvest is much better. So the same way, cannabis, what it does is it only tills your mind, it tills your ego, it loosens up your entire awareness and consciousness, and what you put on top of it, what is the knowledge that you impart on top of that, is the thing that makes you a human being of a higher value. And it's never really the drug which is responsible for the bad actions of a human being. The bad actions of a human being is merely on the individual level itself, and it is never the plant.